Kaieteur Radio, keeping you informed.
Demerara and Essequibo 99.1 FM.
Burby's 99.5 FM. Kaieteur Radio.
Good evening and welcome to this evening's newscast. Before we get to the news in detail, let's get to the front page comment brought to you by today's Kaieteur News. Reforming Guyana's libel laws is long overdue. Libel laws are a holdover from a time when the powerful protected their persons, practices, and turf against undesired intrusion, exposure, and truths that embarrass. It is time that they go, which should be given the highest priority. In today's Guyana, the offended powerful is best represented by the governing political establishment of the day. Its members do not wish to be questioned. They resent scrutiny, though there is grand talk about transparency. Apparently, conveniently forgotten is the transparency is enhanced by honest and constant scrutiny. It is instructive that far fewer libel suits are brought by offended individuals in the private domain, with the overwhelming majority of these cases being brought by people close to government as a means of intimidating and silencing. Among the things wished to be kept quiet are political money spent on enormous amounts under shabby and criminal circumstances. It is public knowledge in Guyana that massive amounts of the taxpayers' money have been mishandled, unaccounted for, properly simply vanished, or the work done does not match the amounts reportedly spent. When revealed and pressed for answers, none are forthcoming from those appointed as stewards. When pressed too hard and too sharply, political participants in the local arena resort to filing libel suits to do two things: to distract and deter continuing revelations of serial, costly wrongdoing. The second objective, the primary one, is to muzzle the independent private press through court action. Powerful men seek to hide behind the shield of libel laws to prevent expensive truths from reaching the public. Clearly, our libel laws do more harm than good. They protect wrongdoers. They handcuff seekers of concealed truths. These laws are ancient and need comprehensive overhaul. It is time that the public be privy to every truth that impacts its welfare expensively and negatively. It is time that these antiquated libel laws of Guyana be thoroughly modernized and be brought in line with 21st century realities and standards. And now for the news in detail, Kevin Smith here. Hess Corporation has announced that it has entered an agreement to sell out its stake in a producing Gulf of Mexico oil field to raise capital for its Guyana investment opportunities. The move is just one of many signals of the enviable position of Exxon, Hess, and CNOOC offshore Guyana. Together, the joint venture partners enjoy the world-class Stabroek Block, with crude at extremely low break-even prices and a lopsided contract in their favor. The sale, once completed before year-end, would have an effective date of July 1st, 2020, and will grant Hess $505 million. Hess is selling its 28% stake in the lucrative oil field to the Australian operator BHP Billiton. The operator already has a 44% stake in the block, alongside Repsol with 28%. In other news, an expose by the New York-based publication Bloomberg shows that ExxonMobil is playing out a $210 billion 7-year investment strategy it knows will keep a steep surge in carbon dioxide emissions. The publication's analysis of leaked internal documents from the oil major shows it knows its emissions levels will rise 17% by 2025. Bloomberg says this is setting one of the largest corporate emitters against international efforts to slow the pace of warming. The report states, a chart in the document lists Exxon direct emissions for 2017, 122 million metric tons of CO2 equivalent, as well as a projected figure for 2025 of 143 million tons. This increase is pegged as more emissions than the entire nation of Greece. Due to the company's method of considering only greenhouse emissions from its direct operations, Bloomberg said that the company's internal estimates only account for 5 times less than the company's full impact of the global climate. Most other emissions, it said, would come from other end uses like customers burning fuel in vehicles. And moving on, Minister of Public Works Juan Edgell yesterday appointed a high-level team to investigate the allegations of corruption and misappropriation in the reselling of the government's asphalt and their connection to staffers under the ministry. Notably, this team is set to complete their investigations within a month's time, a statement related to the press. The ministry's probe into the asphalt plant's misappropriations stemmed from an article released by Kaieteur in late September. That article had highlighted that contractors would get asphalt at huge discounts under a scam that stretched all the way to the Ministry of Public Works. In other news, the Deputy Chief Elections Officer Roxanne Myers was yesterday arrested after she turned herself in at the Criminal Investigation Department headquarters at Eve Leary in the company of her attorneys. This happened less than 24 hours after it was made public that Myers was wanted by the Guyana Police Force for questioning in relation to the investigation into the alleged fraud of the March 2nd elections. In other news, if Guyana wants to ensure there is early consideration of local content, then it would be wise to request that oil companies embed opportunities for maximum use of indigenous goods and services, as well as training and hiring of Guyanese in their field development plans. Making this assertion recently was Dr. Valerie Marcel, an Associate Fellow of Chatham House for its Energy, Environment and Resources Program. And moving on, when foreign company Zijin Mining Group secured ownership of Aurora Gold Mines in August, it had laid off a significant number of local businesses, and by extension, hundreds of Guyanese workers. With their dismissal, locals lost out on several contracts. This was not encouraging for local businesses, and many had aired their displeasure with the decision to dismiss. However, the displeasure did not stop there, as when the mining group had the opportunity to rehire some local businesses, they instead chose to obtain the services of a foreign Chinese company. In fact, Japart's local heavy-duty machinery and equipment supplier had been ditched by the new AGM owners for Sino Hydro, a Chinese state-owned hydropower engineering and construction company. Let's tell you now that new acting Chief Medical Officer Dr. Narayan Singh is bringing more than 3 decades of institutional knowledge of Guyana's healthcare system. Dr. Singh asserted that coming to the office of CMO in the middle of a pandemic is already challenging, but what makes matters worse is the fact that Guyana's COVID-19 numbers continue to climb. In his capacity as CMO, Dr. Singh will be among the key personnel dealing with the oversight of systems and plans geared at addressing the ongoing COVID-19 health crisis. As such, he said that he believes that citizens' greatest challenge is stopping the spread of the disease, is changing their behavior. He noted that the Ministry of Health and healthcare workers are playing their part, but it's up to the public to adhere to the rules, or we will keep seeing the numbers climb. And that brings us to the end of this evening's newscast. I am Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening. Stay tuned. Coming up next is the National Outlook with GHK Law.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today and watch your dollar grow. Call us